our second guest for the evening. We've got Ryan Thorburn here. How you doing, Ryan?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Oh, we're living large. We're in Vegas. We're loving life.
Yeah, we're at the Circa.
We're at the Circa. That's right. So day one in the books. How many media days has this been for you?
Well, that's
Should I not
hard
ask
to
that?
say. I
Okay.
mean, I started my newspaper career, 30 years ago. So I've been to a lot of Big 12, a lot of Pac-12, the
Okay.
old Pac-12, the
Right.
real Pac-12, I should say. And a handful of Mountain West, even going back to the WAC.
Okay.
I covered the 96 WAC championship here, actually, between Wyoming and BYU. So I'm getting old, but a lot of them. And it's always fun because it's the official start of football season, right?
Yes.
I mean, summer is over for those of us who live college football and work in this business. So I always love it. And there's no better place than Vegas to do it. And Circa is pretty awesome.
Oh, this is phenomenal. Our first year here, I want to give a shout out to our mountain dwellers that have viewed all of our episodes and podcasts and helped us get to here, year two of our pod. We're having a great time. We're going to be pumping out tons of content. Started today, but we have a lot more yet to come. And yeah, I'm blown away by this event here at Surfa. It's been phenomenal. What do you think, Stevie? What are your thoughts on the Surfa here?
It's been fantastic. What the Mountain West has done, to put on this event, I think has been fantastic. The venue is fantastic. And it's been great having all this wonderful access to the players today and some coaches tomorrow.
Well, we got to meet two Wyoming Cowboys today. Honestly, the most enjoyable time that I had. Nothing against any of the other Mountain West players. We had fantastic time with all. But I was able to listen to the wonderful Fatter Fattest podcast a week ago, which is the three interior linemen for the Cowboys here, Barnett, Walsh, and King. Were you a part of getting this up and running, or how did this whole podcast start? Do you know this backstory?
Well, what Jack says, Jack Walsh, our starting center, preseason All Mountain West, great dude, legacy, recruit at Wyoming, and
Yep.
he turned out to be a heck of a Cowboy. He basically said him and Barnett and King, whether it's at breakfast or lunch, they work out and then they have lunch in the facility and they just sit around and talk for hours. This time of year, I don't know if you guys know this, but football players basically take an online class or two, work out hard in the mornings, and then play golf. Or those that don't play golf, sleep or play video games, whatever. So they would sit around and talk for hours, and they're like, we should make this a podcast 'cause it's so funny and entertaining. And so they approached Nick Seaman, our communications director. He produces, our official athletic department podcast, the One Wyoming podcast.
Yes.
So Nick kind of said, yeah, I'll do it. And they're really naturals at it. I had all three of them on the One Wyoming podcast just to kind of introduce their podcast. And they're really naturals at it. And they've had some really good guests.
Yes.
They're going to have Gloria Navarez, among others, on their next episode because Jack did some interviews here on the podcast. So, it's fun. I think that's the cool thing. I was in newspapers for ages and, I was old school and by the book and this and that, but media has changed. Like I'm now working for Wyoming. So I'm media / PR, whatever you want to call me.
Right.
Communications and guys like that can do their own media.
Yeah.
Like, you want to get to know me? Here's my podcast. So
Sure.
I think it's great, and it's a great way to promote themselves and the football team.
It's awesome. Anybody that's interested, you don't have to be a Wyoming fan. If you just want to hear, college athletes, football players, just having a good old time. They do like little segments on things. I'm going to throw it out there. I'm going to be in a segment coming up.
All right.
It has to do with McDonald's.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yes, he pulled me over and asked me the McDonald's question. So
That's
hey,
their go-to question. What is your McDonald's order? And they ask Gloria that. They ask
okay.
everybody that. In fact, I drove those two from Laramie to Denver for the flight here. And they had just worked out and they're like, we're really hungry. Can we stop? And I'm like, of course. So I know what their McDonald's orders were yesterday. Pretty extensive. I think
Yes.
it was still breakfast. Jack got a number 2 with coffee and a number 6 with water.
There you go.
And J Mike, I think, got 3, sausage egg McMuffins. Or
There you go. Yes. Well, let's talk about J Mike real quick. I mean, what an awesome young man. He was on the pod there a couple weeks ago, and just really enjoyed listening to him speak. They get it, kind of get into his background. I mean, it blew me away. Just, kind of started football for fun in high school, and here he is, in my opinion, one of the top tight ends in the country. Just a phenomenal talent. One of the best offensive talents that Wyoming has this year. I'm expecting huge things from him. I mean, just a fantastic individual. I don't really have a question other than just a nice, wholesome young man.
Yeah.
Is he from Illinois? Am I mixing them up? As Walsh from Illinois?
Kansas City.
Kansas City. Okay. All right.
Yeah. John Michael Gillenborg, great story. His recruiting story is essentially he was a basketball and baseball player. Craig Bull was really tight with the high school football coach at his high school.
Mm-hmm.
He went out just for fun, like you said, played in 3 high school football games total, was injured, I think. So he only had 3 games.
Yeah.
He was basically like line up here and run a go and we'll throw you the ball type of athlete. And that coach, I believe, was talking to Craig. He's like, I got a guy that you might want to take a look at that no one else knows about. And, Wyoming is a developmental program. They get, 2-star recruits and turn them into Josh Allen and Logan Wilson and Chad Muma and those type of players. And of course, Gillenborg has the physical traits to be one of those next level players. And, this day and age, we all know about the portal. We all know about NIL. We all know about tampering. And I can say, because John Mike has said publicly that schools and, some of them were in the college football playoff last year and went deep in that, reached out to him, and he stayed. And you never know, but I think one good thing about Wyoming's program and maybe some other Mountain West programs, like I know a lot of fans are like, oh, I don't like this era. I'm losing my love for college football. There's guys like John Michael Gillenborg that aren't going to go for a quick money grab and that sort of thing. They see the long-term picture, like, okay, I could get some money and go to a place that maybe has 2 or 3 other guys like me, or I could be the featured target at Wyoming and try to be the next McBride from Colorado State and make real money like he's making in the NFL. So, I think that's kind of where Wyoming and a lot of these Mountain West teams need to be, is to keep players like that. And you're going to lose other players that, have different backgrounds and might need more NIL than you can give them. But, if you keep that core and then fill it in with guys from, the FCS level that are looking to move up, you can still have very competitive football teams in this era, in the revenue sharing era. And, obviously Wyoming's going to share revenue. It's just not going to be the same amount of revenue that, Notre Dame's sharing.
Yeah, right.
So I also have a question. I have a follow-up on John Michael Gillenborg. I was equally impressed with him today, talking to him as I was seeing him play last year. And honestly, I'm the Big Ten guy in our group on the Big Mountain, and so I have some comparisons to make. Just as a Penn State fan, last year Tyler Warren I think is actually a great comparison. A guy that kind of was off the radar as well. He was a high school quarterback, I believe, and all of that. But had the physical attributes and all that. So to me, very good comparison. But for you guys as a school, and talking to your players today, they echoed the just being Cowboy tough, being humble, going 1-0. He wanted no accolades or anything, you could tell. But for you guys as the communications director or as the athletic director, whoever has that role, is there a balance there between being humble and also wanting to promote your guys, maybe get them on a watch list for an award or something like that? And how do you guys balance that?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think obviously you want your players to get national publicity, and I think eventually John Mike is going to get that this year because of what he does on the field. Obviously, he wasn't even preseason All Mountain West tight end, which is mind-boggling for those that are in the circle and see what he does every day. But I think I think Wyoming wants their players to have as much national prominence as possible. I know that some coaches maybe want to hide some of their redshirt freshmen and stuff like that until they, as long as they can, but
Yes.
everyone's going to get discovered once they hit the field. So you can't worry about that. You got to put your best players out there, let them thrive and try to retain them. And, I think John Mike is kind of this team, obviously they're picked 10. They were 3-9 last year. It was Jay Sawvell's first year. Jay has said the mistakes that he made, in terms of, okay, we have everyone coming back from a 9-win team. We're all good.
Yeah.
He didn't see some of the holes in the roster. He didn't have time per se. He was hired in December when Craig Bowl retired. It was the same day. Craig Bowl's retiring. And by the way, Jay Sawvell's our new coach. 2 different press releases back to back there. They had to close that early signing class, with the next 10 days. So Jay focused on that. He was out visiting recruits. Then they were so dialed into the Arizona Bowl, like we have to send Craig out with a win.
Right.
So he's game planning. All of a sudden it's January and you now are like, okay, I'm the head coach now. You don't really have time to mine the portal for maybe some weaknesses that you would have studied more.
Yeah.
And he's admitted, like this year, he knew even mid-season, like these are the holes we're going to fill with the portal. These are the guys that are developing. They're going to fill some other spots. And I just think they feel really good about the roster. But the key thing is he made a top 10 list after the Washington State game, basically on the flight home. We have to keep or try to keep these 10 core players. And
I'm going to guess John Michael Gillenborg was on.
John
that list.
Mick was probably in the top 2 or 3,
Yeah.
if not 1.
Yeah.
According to Jay, I haven't seen the list. They kept 9 of them.
Yeah.
So that's a good start. And then you build around it. Wyoming has 47 new players.
Wow.
I believe the numbers 23, 24, either transfers or incoming freshmen, which is a good balance to have.
Yeah.
Because those freshmen are going to probably redshirt, except for a couple of them. So that's the next wave. But then you fill in those holes with the transfers. And I think they have some impact transfers.
So I'm just going to say before I hand the mic back over to JY, John Michael Gillenborg needs to be on that Mackey Award watch list. It needs to happen. Let's make it happen.
Well, everybody's listening to this, so
Yeah.
I think maybe tomorrow that'll happen.
Yeah.
So I did want to move to this season. I mean, you did a great job there, kind of telling us, what happened last year. Maybe I think a whole bunch of different things kind of went into that season, right? Even when you look back at the schedule, they had a conference schedule where those teams ended up. The Arizona State, the BYU, WUBA. Like you didn't think they were going to do what they ended up doing, right? So really a much harder out of conference schedule than what any of us thought coming into that season. But moving into this year now, you mentioned the top 10. I heard Jay talk about that, and we're going to have him on here tomorrow as well. And he was very clear, I think, over the spring about there's certain areas in the transfer portal that they knew they needed to get better at. And I don't think he was overly specific, but I think everybody kind of knew maybe 3 of the 5 or 4 of the 5. And I think it looks like, to your point, they've kind of probably addressed them in some way. Is that kind of the feeling you're getting right now? That's like, hey, if you can never have everything you want, but kind of coming out of the transfer portal and everything, hey, this is he kind of got what he was hoping for here.
Yeah, and I think mostly it's all over the place, but a lot of it is on defense. Obviously, Jay Sawvell was Craig Bowl's defensive coordinator, and now Aaron Bowl, Craig's son, is Jay's defensive coordinator. And I think that's another thing that gets lost is Jay Johnson was in his first year at Wyoming as the offensive coordinator, and he's a really talented guy that's been at Colorado and Michigan State and all these different places. And it was his first year, and they're basically trading out Craig Bowl's, 3 yards in the clouded mash mouth for more of a spread look. Now, they're still going to primarily want to establish the run first, but Caden Anderson's going to spread you out and sling it around. So that's a big transition going from, having a fullback, having, 2 or 3 tight ends on the field and that sort of thing to spreading you out.
Mm-hmm.
This will be second year of that. Caden Anderson's got a firm grasp on that. And, defensively, I just think some of the areas they ran into problems with, their 2 safeties, Wyatt Eckler and Isaac Whitehead, basically played every snap for 3 years.
Yeah.
And they never even thought about what if those two don't play and they're both out?
Yeah.
All of a sudden and then you're playing at North Texas, like the best passing team in the country. It's like, it just snowballed.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned, I think these guys and the team as a whole, that at least the returners, are going to be so unfazed by being picked 10th, like,
Mhm.
because in their mind, and they will admit this, like, they had most of the crew back from the 9-win team. Everyone's feeding Wyoming like, oh, Arizona State is last in the Big 12. You can go get
Yep.
this road win.
Yep.
Start off with a Big 12 road win. You got BYU coming into home, 2-0 against the Big 12. BYU's picked 12th or whatever they were picked.
BYU?
By the end of the season, Arizona State is the Big 12 champion,
Yeah.
pushing Texas in the playoff, and BYU essentially was the second or third best team in the Big 12. So, you never know about these schedules,
Right.
how it's going to play out. Wyoming was dealt a pretty tough schedule last year. I mentioned North Texas
Yeah.
without basically your starting secondary, and they're the best passing team. So it kind of snowballed. It got out of control. But one thing I will say that I was impressed with, there was no white flag. Caden Anderson's first start, they went a shootout on the road in New Mexico.
Right.
They were competitive in the second half of the border war, but that was a very, very bitter loss.
Yeah.
And then they really had Boise State on the ropes if Caden Anderson didn't get hurt. Playoff team. Wouldn't have been a playoff team, and Wyoming would have won that game.
Right.
And then they ended, in Pullman with a nice 95-ish yard drive to end the game. By the way, Evan Svoboda
Yes.
benched. Come
Yes.
back and save
Yes.
us after we benched you.
Yeah.
He comes back in. You talk about a character guy, leads them on that drive. The season basically ends with a Svoboda to Gillenborg touchdown on the last offensive play of the year. And Svoboda's like, you know what? I'm moving to tight end. I love Wyoming. It didn't work out at quarterback.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll work out at tight end. And he's definitely, like Jay says, has an NFL body just as much as Gillenborg does.
Yeah, for sure. And that's awesome. I'd love to see him do that. Like, he's just a cowpoke. He wants to be a Cowboy. He wants to be in Laramie. Just do whatever he can to help the team. I mean, it's clearly what his thing. And I got to go back to that Wazoo game. The most excited I was the entire season. That was so phenomenal.
Yes.
After the, again, disappointing season we had, but that game with, as you said, Evans Svoboda coming back in, going to J Mike. Phenomenal game. We have a question here from Bill, that college football guy, one of our good viewers here. He's asking about Memorial Stadium, if everything's still on track. I've seen some recent pictures, looks really good. Any update on the stadium there for Memorial?
Yeah, so this is phase 2 of War Memorial Stadium being totally refurbished. Last year, obviously, we took out the west stands, the lower west stands, and replaced them with new stands. This year is a major project because there's going to be a brand new press box. There's going to be club level seating over there.
Yep.
On the west side, which is kind of like the Wildcatter seating, that they did in 2011 on the east side, which is more of an inside type of get out of the weather.
Yes, right.
Have your little beer and cocktail wieners or whatever they do up there. This is more for, I'm not judging anyone, but I'd say more of a younger crowd that has the money to go in and spend money on
Gotcha.
drinks and then come back out. It looks really cool. Like, if I was retired and had the means, I would be sitting up in there. It looks really fun. But that's going to be really cool, and that's going to help generate a lot more revenue on game days, which, our athletic director, Tom Berman, said it's all about generating new revenue now in rev share. So that's really going to help, and it actually decreases the capacity a little bit. So you're talking, when I was in school in the 90s, War Memorial Stadium was 33,000. Now it's about 25,000.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a bad thing because it's hard to get tickets to Wyoming football games.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys saw even last year, they have 2 wins and the Boise State crowd was insane.
Yes, it was.
So that's going well. According to the construction people, it will be done for the opener against Northern Iowa. Wyoming starts out on the road at Akron,
That's
so
right.
that gives them an extra week there. But yeah, it'll all be done, and then obviously the second home game is going to be a major test of everything new because Utah's coming to town, and that's a big deal.
Absolutely. Well, you mentioned the Akron game. I am going to do my darndest to make the journey to that game here, and hopefully I'll be able to enjoy watching a live Wyoming Cowboy game. Probably about as close to where we are at, Steve,
Yes.
that I get a chance to do. So if I don't do it now, I don't know if I'm ever going to do it.
At some point, we need to get out to Laradice and have a live show there.
Well, I might be working on that as well, but
Okay.
you know how it is. You got to take one thing at a time here. So, well, Ryan, thank you so much. We want to get to maybe a few other things here on the live show and talk about Commissioner Navarez's comments, talk about maybe some of the media stuff. I know there's been a lot going on the X and on the socials today. I have had no chance to check it because we're making content. We're
Yes.
not reading content.
Interviewing players. It's been a busy day talking to a lot of Mountain West players.
So maybe the last question I had for you, Ryan, was there any takeaways that you had from today? Of course, you're kind of following the players around. You were in the morning session, I think. Anything that you took away from the day so far that maybe was new that you hadn't heard before?
Not really. I just think Jack Walsh and Gillenborg did such a great job
Yeah.
of kind of telling the story of where the program is right now. It's not, the culture didn't go anywhere last year. The wins were way down, obviously. But they have their slogan that they started in January. It's personal.
Yeah.
And I think they're in a good place because, like I said, they have all these returning leaders that want to end on a note like Craig Bull did, where they're winning 9-10 games and leaving that legacy, because they were a very consistent program under Craig Bull.
Yes.
Jay Sawbell, when he's on here, will be honest about maybe a couple mistakes he made, but I think he learned so much that anybody underestimating him and writing off Wyoming because of the coaching change.
Sure.
I think it could be a bounce back year. I'll just say that. I love the schedule. I love the team. Obviously a lot's going to be on Caden Anderson's plate. I know he's a very accurate player. He's a winner from South Lake Carroll.
Yep.
He has a swagger to him. So that and just getting all these new pieces on the same page on defense, I think it could be a good year.
Fantastic, Ryan. Thank you so
Well,
much for
thank you,
joining us
guys.
here in Vegas.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Ryan.
Yep. Have a good night.
Yep, we'll see you tomorrow, I guess.
Yep.
Okay, very good.